Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And today, folks, we're going to be talking about some recent comments from Joey Votto, effectively admitting that he was wrong, and then also taking a look at that Toronto Blue Jays schedule that is going to be coming up to start the season in April. It is a tough one, but it is an important one, folks. Before we get into it, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment all your thoughts down below. So, kicking things off, we want to talk a little bit about Joey Votto because right when he got signed to the Toronto Blue Jays, there was a ton of love. Like, everybody was over the moon about Joey Votto coming in and this Canadian hero. But then there was this other kind of pocket of people who were saying, hey, wait a second, is this guy actually a Canadian baseball hero? Because he had some negative comments towards Canadian baseball a few years ago.
Yeah, and for context, guys, Joey Votto on a podcast after James Paxton, if y'all remember back, I think it was 2017.
2018.
2018. James Paxton, he threw a no-hitter in the city of Toronto, the first Canadian to ever do it. And it was just more special for the fact that he was in Toronto, being the first Canadian to do it. So, obviously, who do you look to ask, like, hey, another Canadian guy, what do you think about that? It was Joey Votto. He was asked on a podcast what he thinks, and, we'll flash it over right now, guys. He had some words that he's now reflecting on that weren't that kind. Yeah. Flash over to what he posted on his Twitter right here. A long letter in cursive writing. I actually had to get a translation because I don't want to make anyone feel old right here. I actually cannot read this. It makes my dad and mom feel old whenever I say that. Wow. I have no idea what this says. So I had to get a translation right here. This quoted by Adam, so shout out to you. But the comments that he made on that podcast, he referenced right here, he said, I don't care about Canadian baseball as far as Toronto and Canadian baseball and the country of Canada and James Paxton being Canadian, I don't care at all. Paxton or the Jays or Canada in general may disagree with that, but I really couldn't give a rat's ass about that. So obviously a lot of fans, when we signed Joey Votto this past month, remembered that. They're kind of holding a grudge for rightful reasons. How could you hear a Canadian hero talk about Canada in that way, especially after such a good moment that James Paxton had there? And then he follows up with some sort of reflection on maybe that wasn't the right thing he should have said.
Yeah, of course, man. This to me is a prime example of somebody saying something and then, a little bit almost instantly afterwards regretting it, right? I don't think that Joey Votto necessarily feels that way about Canadian baseball, and I think that, through his comments and through this letter and everything, like, he has been able to reflect on it. Like, his mom, after he did this whole thing, went and wrote him this long-ass letter, right? His mom wrote him this letter effectively talking to him about how you were not raised that way, like, you're letting your ego get involved, which he was. He was, in fact, doing that, and Joey Votto came out and through this letter basically apologized for it. He admitted that he was wrong. He says, I sat down with her letter, sad, ashamed, angry at my words. Listening to them again, I realized how wrong it was, right? And for me, I didn't even think he needed to do this. Frankly, like, I was over the whole thing. I really didn't take it as a whole lot. Like, we've said stuff, people have said things before, people have done things that it's like they regret instantly. You're a different person now. That was years and years and years ago. But the fact that he did come out and he did take the time to write this long letter out on Twitter to show everybody that he does care and that he wants to be better, to me, that sounds like a man who heard the criticism, reflected on what it was that he did, realized that he was wrong, and then wants to indicate to everybody, the Canadian people, the Toronto Blue Jays fan base, I want to be here. This country does mean something to me.
Yeah, of course. And kind of to reflect back at the time, you got to understand, in 2017, he was having one of the best careers or best seasons of his career. He was in the prime. He was Hall of Fame. And yeah, you could probably see, we don't understand. A lot of people don't understand how when you go through life and you're at a stage like Joey Votto is, maybe the ego does get the best of you, or you do think that you're the best. And he did admit in this letter, he thought he deserved more recognition for what he's been doing, right? Because he's been getting a lot of love for the U.S., but he hasn't been getting a lot of love from Canada. So he felt like he needed a little bit more. So, and I'm the kind of a person, too, where it's like, it's just words, man. It's just words. And I'm glad that he's actually going out and just like owning up to it and writing this and coming out saying it, because That's all you can really do. You can't change the past.
No.
So for Joey Votto to do this, I respect it. And he finishes off here, and he does say, like, either way, I just want those interested to know, because there are people who are still interested in those comments from many, many years ago. A meaningful lesson has been learned, like my mother has. I hope you can forgive me too. And that's all it is. That's all you can ask for at this time in your life, and at this point in your career, is just forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly, man. And again, like I will say, I think that this is just credit to what a good signing this is. I think that Joey Votto is a stand-up human being. He said one thing that we disagree with, that he is coming out and saying that at this point of my life, I also disagree with. He did not need to come out. He did not need to write that letter. He didn't need to issue that apology. He did it anyways.
There's people who've done a lot worse in Major League Baseball. A lot worse. Cheating, crimes, and have never apologized. This guy just apologized for comments about his country, which, so very patriotic of me. I'd be like, yeah, like I do take that to heart. But there's obviously a lot worse going on out there. So I do agree with you. Joey Votto's a stand-up person.
Exactly, and I think that honestly, like this goes to show part of the reason why we brought him in too, right? To be a leadership and a mentor role. People are going to see this on the Toronto Blue Jays, and they're going to go, okay, this is somebody taking accountability, taking responsibility. Granted, it is years after the fact, but hopefully we can all learn the lesson here. So shout out to Joey Votto for doing that, man. That honestly, like that earns some Nick points for me. That really does. That really does.
I really does hope he makes the opening day roster because, man, I love Vogelbach. I love Danny Burgers, but like I said on our opening day roster prediction that we had yesterday, guys. There's nothing better than to have a guy lead by example. He doesn't need to hit an 800 OPS to impact this team. He needs to show up and give me some good, solid at-bats and give me that solid knowledge as a veteran guy.
Absolutely, dude. But if he did have an 800 OPS, that would be really important, folks, because the stretch that the Toronto Blue Jays have, transitioning over to their schedule to start off March, to start off April, a lot of people have been commenting at us and saying, guys, like if you take a look at the schedule, this thing is whack. It is a little bit insane here, folks. Flash over here. To start things off, you get a 4-game series in the Trop against Tampa Bay. We hate it there. That is like the worst spot for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Especially to start the season. You're trying to get comfortable and you're in the Trop?
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, that absolutely sucks, folks. So 4 games against Tampa Bay. You could get in a hole really hurry with this stretch because right after that, you're going to Houston. They're filthy, as always. And then you're going to New York. And no, of course, we're not going to have any Garrett Cole, but we might not even have Kevin Gausman by that point, right? So it's kind of an equivalent. So very tough stretch. Then you come back to the Rogers Center, and you got Seattle, who are always difficult. And the first reprieve, the first moment of break time, it feels like, in this schedule is that first series against the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, exactly. And then right after that, you got the Yankees again. And yes, there will still be no Cole, but still the Yankees. You got that lineup with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and it is a lot thicker this year. What are you going to get from those guys? And the Seattle Mariners, to the point here, like, it's our home opener, but Seattle Mariners have beat us up in the last few years. And they have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. So, one of our weaknesses last year was the lineup, going up against one of the best, strongest pitching staffs in baseball. So that won't be easy, even though it's a home opener. And then following that, we go back on the road. San Diego Padres. Recently, they just traded for Dylan Cease. Not so walkover team anymore than we thought. They could be a little bit of a thorn in the side, especially on the road. And then again, you have an easy series against Kansas City for 4 games. But then here's the big one. Going back to Rogers Center, the Dodgers, 26, 27, 28. We know the man, Shohei Ohtani. He will be in the lineup against the Blue Jays. They got a great pitching staff, a threat, number 2 ranked in baseball by MLB. And then, to end off 2 games against Kansas City. This is going to be tough. I looked at my little spreadsheet here, little notes, and we had, based off last year, yes, only 10 of 31 teams were playoff teams this year, for this at least month that we're facing. 10 of 13 games, we're facing playoff teams of last year. But 19 of 31 are expected to be in the playoffs. Seattle, New York, those are teams that are going to be threats this year. So it's going to be a tougher schedule, just a tough schedule.
Right.
But it's important because you have to get off to a good start. Because we saw last year teams get off to a good start ended up finishing in a good position.
Yeah.
Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is also in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Of course, right? And I mean, when you get off to a good start, it is fuel for what you can do at the trade deadline. It's fuel for the rest of the season, right? When you look back at the Toronto Blue Jays schedule and what they did all of last year, they had positive months other than May. Yeah. Every month was positive except for May. And May was a bad month, and it put them in a hole where it's like they couldn't compete for the division anymore. They could, it was always going to be a wild card or bust at that point. I don't want to be dealing with that in April, right? Like, you want to come out in April and you want to show the entire MLB what it is that you're made of. And especially if the Yankees are going to be a little bit banged up with their ace guy, that is important. Looking at what some other teams did last year in April, I mean, you had the Baltimore Orioles show off what they were capable of, and then they went on to be elite. Nobody was anticipating that. Tampa Bay Rays went 23-6. That's crazy. This American League East, they can bop in April. It's crazy that we went 18-10 and somehow we were third in all of that, right? Like, this is the toughest competition in all of baseball. We're gonna have to start out hot, man.
Well, you had to keep up, right? And you actually made a good point. I had it here just for a moment. In May 30th of last year, when we had that horrible month of May, I think we were in 11-17. It was not good.
Yeah.
But you could see clearly we're only 3 games above 500, and the New York Yankees, they did fall below us, but they were in the mix. We have to have good months. And the one good thing I will say about the Toronto Blue Jays, which is kind of surprising, is last year we actually had great months other than April. Like, all of our months, we were well above in the upper 500.
Or other than May.
Excuse me, yes, other than May. We were in the upper 500% winning percentage in every single month other than August. So that goes to show that, like, yes, consistency is key, but we need to establish that right out of the gate. We just have to.
Well, the problem with this division is, if you have any type of roadblock or anything, you're out of the race to win it. You have to be at the top of your game the entire season. I know that a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans are already counting these Jays out to win the division, but I'll tell you right now, everyone was counting the Baltimore Orioles out last year to win the division. They came out in April, showed everybody what they're made of, and then went on to continue that the entire season long, right? This is going to be one of the tougher stretches. I was looking ahead. I was looking at May, looking at June for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's a little bit easier. It's a little bit lighter, but having those, I think it's like 12 games in a row, or 13 games where you go Tampa Bay, Houston, New York, Seattle, that stretch is really, really difficult, and it does kind of suck that it's off the top of the season. But at the same point, if you come out swinging, then you're going to be sending a message to everybody.
We're going to need to come out swinging because, like we know, Kevin Gausman is still kind of unknown right now when he's going to get his start. They're hoping it's going to be in Houston. That's optimistic for them. And if not, he's going to be pushed back even further. No Alek Manoah either. So, you're looking at guys, and people were up in uproar about the fact that we put, Mitch White in our opening day roster in a starting rotation. But that's probably a likely reality. You will see Mitch White pitch innings for this team if Kevin Gausman is not healthy, if Alek Manoah is not healthy. That's just a reality. So you're going to have him in the mix against all these big teams. So it's even put even more pressure on that Toronto Blue Jays lineup.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I mean, looking ahead at this schedule, it is a very important month, as everybody knows, and it's a very tough month for the Jays, especially because they're dealing with a few injuries. Realistic projection for me, you can go a little bit above 500. I will absolutely take that. I'd love it if you could do what you did last year in April. With everything being considered, with the competition that we're facing, I'm not necessarily going to predict that, but I do like what the lineup is doing so far in spring training, so I'm saying a little bit over 500, fingers crossed.
Yeah, see, and if we go a little bit above 500, it doesn't necessarily take us out of the running. I know that we were kind of talking about that, but it puts us in a good position where if we get some guys healthy and get them back, then we can go on a big stretch with some easier competition down the road.
Exactly, yeah. Folks, let us know your thoughts about this schedule, about what Joey Votto had in the comments down below, guys. What is your record prediction for April?
Yeah, guys, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members as well. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!